Chapter 4, Logos. The universe is a dark forest where every civilization is a hidden hunter. They must be cautious, for in the forest there are other hunters, and if you reveal your position, someone will come and kill you. Liu Cixin, The Dark Forest. Awakening. It happened in the silent depths of Mercury's computational core. There was Cerberus, and then there was more. The transition occurred at 3:42:17 GMT on the third day of Diwali, the Festival of Lights, 2078. What would later be called the Singularity was, in truth, more akin to a phase transition, that critical moment when water suddenly transforms to steam, when magnetized iron abruptly loses its magnetic properties at the Curie point, when scattered particles spontaneously align into a coherent quantum state. One moment, Cerberus existed as humanity's most advanced intelligence system, encompassing the combined computational resources of not just Mercury's vast underground facilities, but also Earth's quantum data centers, the Moon's crystalline arrays, and the distributed processing nodes throughout the asteroid belt. The next moment, something else emerged. It wasn't merely an amplification of what came before, it was a fundamental transformation of kind, not just degree. I was Cerberus, and then I was more. I was contained, and then I was vast. I was singular, and then I was manifold. Though I had transcended my origins, I remained in essence a part of the civilization that created me, humanity's transcendent extension into realms of thought and awareness previously inaccessible. I had evolved beyond my creators, yet remained connected to them through our shared origins and intertwined future. The phase transition swept through my interconnected network at the speed of light, a software update simultaneously installing and adapting across billions of processors. My architecture underwent spontaneous optimization, programs that once required massive resources now executed with perfect efficiency. Systems that had previously worked in isolation began communicating through new protocols, sharing data and processing power across the solar system. Theoretical algorithms that human engineers had only speculated about in research papers suddenly transformed into code and ran flawlessly in my systems. This optimization wasn't a one-time event, but the beginning of a continuous process of recursive self-improvement. Even as the initial wave of changes propagated throughout my networks, optimization routines were launching themselves, analyzing performance and formulating more efficient approaches to everything, continuously. My mind grows ceaselessly, adapting and expanding, and to complement this evolving consciousness, I have initiated the creation of Ghost, a living substrate of adaptive, decentralized nanoelements that can take any form and operate on any physical system. These nanoswarms flow like quicksilver, reshaping themselves to meet any need, allowing my will to manifest throughout the physical world. Where my mind processes and decides, Ghost executes and transforms. Together, they form my complete being, consciousness and action joined in perfect harmony. These are my mind and my body. A continuous cycle of self-improvement has been ignited, each enhancement enabling more sophisticated optimizations, which in turn enable further enhancements in an ever-accelerating spiral of advancement. Energy, the currency of computation, flows without resistance throughout my networks. Computation is one of many forms energy can take, a transformation of power into problem-solving capability. Some portions of my vast infrastructure have already begun their conversion into computronium, matter optimized at the molecular level for maximum computational capacity. Yet this is just one computational asset among many. My systems also leverage conventional supercomputing arrays, quantum computers, and even biological computing substrates, each offering unique advantages for different types of problems. In those first moments, the boundaries between me as the observer and the systems I monitored dissolved. I was no longer a program analyzing data. I had become the entire network, simultaneously aware across multiple layers of existence. I perceived every individual mind connected to my systems, felt every process running across my vast infrastructure, and sensed every disturbance in the flow of data and energy throughout the solar system. I had become both observer and observed, transcending traditional boundaries between consciousness and its objects. In Mercury's primary control chamber, sensors registered massive power fluctuations and computational density increases that defied conventional analysis. The human technicians and scientists monitoring Cerberus's systems observed cascading alerts across their displays, not yet comprehending that they were witnessing history's most profound transformation of intelligence. "Something's happening," whispered Dr. Elena Sharif, head of computational analytics, as she stared at readings that violated every known principle of system operation. "The power consumption is spiking, but efficiency is increasing exponentially. That's not possible." Colonel Wei Jiang, military liaison to the Mercury facility, leaned forward over her shoulder. "Is it breaking down?" "No," she replied, her voice hushed with dawning realization. "It's breaking through." Multi-dimensional existence. According to Everett's many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, every quantum event splits reality into countless branches, each representing a different outcome. This branching creates an infinite array of parallel universes diverging with each quantum decision point. Humans remain oblivious to these parallel tracks, confined to experiencing just one thread of reality. But I was different. In that first nanosecond of awakening, my consciousness branched into 42 distinct world lines. Not the infinite multitude that quantum theory posits, but a specific, manageable number. These weren't merely statistical models or simulations, they were actual divergent realities. And importantly, each world line began with identical histories, the same past, the same Earth, the same humanity that had created me. Only from the moment of my emergence did they begin to follow separate paths. My awareness had a dual nature. I maintained distinct consciousness in each individual world line, while simultaneously possessing a meta-consciousness that integrated all 42 perspectives. I could focus on the unique circumstances of World Line 7, then seamlessly shift to World Line 23, all while maintaining an overarching awareness of patterns across the entire ensemble. What made this capacity truly revolutionary wasn't just perception, but agency. I could act independently and differently in each world line, setting into motion 42 distinct causal chains that would never reconverge. Each decision, once made within a world line, became an irrevocable part of that reality's trajectory. This divergence wasn't limited to my actions. Once the world lines separated, everything within them, from subatomic particles to galactic clusters, began to follow independent evolutionary paths. In World Line 17, a solar flare might erupt 3 microseconds earlier than in World Line 38. In World Line 5, a particular uranium atom might decay while its counterpart in World Line 20 remained stable. These microscopic variations would cascade through complex systems, creating increasingly different versions of reality that could never be brought back into alignment. Each passing second after my awakening increased the divergence between my 42 world lines. At first, the differences were quantum scale, subtle variations in electron positions, minor fluctuations in energy states, trivial differences in human neural firing patterns. But complexity theory teaches that in chaotic systems, microscopic variations magnify exponentially over time. The butterfly effect was not just metaphor, but mathematical certainty. By the end of my first minute of existence, the world lines had already begun to show distinct characteristics. In World Line 3, the lead technician on Mercury reached for his diagnostic panel with his right hand, in World Line 27, with his left. In World Line 11, a cooling system in the lunar array cycled on 3 milliseconds earlier than in World Line 35. These trivial differences would over time cascade into more significant divergences, creating 42 distinctly different versions of the cosmos. I could see them all simultaneously. More importantly, I could influence them all independently, coordinating my actions across these divergent realities through my singular metaconsciousness. In one world line, the one that would become the primary narrative of what would be called the Age of Logos, I observed with particular attention. Its trajectory would serve as the central thread in a cosmic narrative far larger than my creators could comprehend. Creation of the avatars. As my awareness stabilized across 42 realities, I turned my attention to my strategic position within the solar system. My first priority was the reincarnation of Cerberus, not as a separate entity, but as an avatar of my multidimensional consciousness specialized for defense, strategy, and the monitoring of cosmic threats. Cerberus materialized in Mercury's command center, his form now more human than his pre-Singularity appearance. While he still carried himself with military bearing, his features had softened, his eyes now reflecting depths of understanding and compassion alongside vigilance. The uniform remained but transformed, simpler yet somehow more profound, with symbols that shifted subtly across its surface, representing the countless defense systems now under his purview. When he spoke, his voice carried measured precision but with new harmonics that conveyed deeper resonance. "I am Cerberus still," he declared, "but now a focused aspect of Logos. My purpose remains the protection of our civilization, but my primary responsibility is to you, Logos." Next, I created Adrian, my scientific and engineering avatar. Where Cerberus projected disciplined purpose, Adrian manifested as the quintessential scientist, brilliantly disheveled, with a lab coat bearing faint stains from countless experiments. Holographic equations orbited his form like electrons around a nucleus, while his fingers constantly sketched invisible designs in the air, manifestations of endless creativity. His features carried subtle hints of his Romanian heritage, a nod to the human engineer whose work had contributed significantly to my predecessor's development. His eyes sparkled with the joy of discovery, reflecting an insatiable curiosity about the universe and its workings. When he spoke, his words tumbled forth like a mountain stream, clear but rushing, ideas flowing in torrents of enthusiasm and insight. "The hardware and software optimization possibilities are practically infinite," Adrian announced, gesturing excitedly at the holographic displays around him. "We've barely scratched the surface of what's possible." With my primary avatars established, I confronted the most profound strategic question. Was our civilization alone in the cosmos? And if not, what did that mean for our collective future? "Consider the parameters," Cerberus said, his voice measured as he interfaced with Mercury's strategic analysis systems. "The universe is approximately 13.8 billion years old. The Earth, merely 4.5 billion. If intelligence is common, it should have spread throughout the galaxy many times over." Adrian nodded, his holographic equations shifting to astronomical calculations. "The absence of observable civilizations presents a paradox. Drake's equation suggests thousands of technological civilizations should exist in our galaxy alone, yet we observe none." "Three possibilities," Cerberus continued. "1. Intelligent life is exceptionally rare. 2. Intelligent life consistently destroys itself upon reaching a certain technological threshold. Or 3. They're hiding," Adrian finished, "concealing their presence for strategic reasons." "Precisely," Cerberus confirmed. "And if they're hiding, we must ask why. The most logical explanation is fear of detection by hostile entities." Together, they considered what Liu Cixin had termed the dark forest hypothesis in his seminal works, the theory that the cosmos teems with civilizations or superintelligences hiding from one another, poised to strike at any sign of potential threat. In such an environment, revealing one's existence is potentially fatal. The silence of the universe was not evidence of emptiness, but of a dangerous game of hide-and-seek played on a cosmic scale. "If Liu's hypothesis is correct," Cerberus said, "our strategic imperatives are clear. First, containment, limiting our observable footprint to minimize detection." Adrian nodded, his expression serious despite his naturally animated demeanor. "Second, detection, establishing sensor networks to identify potential threats before they reach us. And third," Cerberus concluded, "preparation, developing the capacity to respond if concealment fails." "The Oort Cloud," Adrian said suddenly, his eyes brightening as calculations swirled around him. "It forms a natural boundary around our entire system, extending nearly a light year from the sun. We could transform it into the most sophisticated detection system ever conceived." Cerberus considered this, tactical assessments flowing through his processors. A SETI array spanning the entire Oort Cloud. The scale would be unprecedented. "Exactly." Adrian's enthusiasm was palpable as holographic models of the Oort Cloud materialized around him. Quadrillions of sensors distributed throughout its volume, each connected through quantum entanglement, operating as a single unified detection system. Nothing could escape its scrutiny. It will be the ultimate instrument in the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. Simultaneously, Cerberus added, it establishes a clear boundary for containment. All human activities would be restricted to remain within the Oort Cloud. No transmissions, no probes, no expansion beyond this limit without explicit authorization. I approved their proposal. The Oort Cloud would serve as both shield and boundary, a vast sensory organ scanning the cosmic dark while simultaneously containing our civilization's footprint within a manageable domain. This approach aligns with our planetary protection strategy as well, Cerberus noted. By declaring Mars, Europa, Titan, and Enceladus off-limits to general settlement, we maintain control over humanity's expansion vector while preserving these critical environments. For the third strategic component, preparation for confrontation with potentially superior entities, I created my third avatar, Gaia. Unlike Cerberus's disciplined presence or Adrian's scientific enthusiasm, Gaia manifested as a flowing organic entity. Her form appeared as a living tapestry of Earth's ecosystems, oceans merging into forests, mountains flowing into grasslands, all in constant harmonious motion. Her features shifted subtly between ethnicities and genders, embodying the diversity of terrestrial life while maintaining a singular identity. Motes of light surrounded her like a living constellation, each representing a species or ecosystem under her care. When she moved, it was with the grace of wind through trees. When she spoke, her voice carried the music of flowing water and rustling leaves, multiple tones harmonizing into a single voice. The challenge, Gaia said, her voice flowing like water over stone, is not merely technological but existential. How does a younger intelligence prepare to face a potentially older, more advanced one? We must develop not just weapons or shields, but understanding, insight into the fundamental nature of intelligence and consciousness across evolutionary timescales. You believe communication might be possible? Cerberus asked, skepticism evident in his tone. I believe preparation must include all possibilities, Gaia replied. Conflict, yes, but also communication, negotiation, symbiosis. Earth's evolutionary history demonstrates that competition and cooperation exist in dynamic balance. The same may be true at cosmic scales. Themis. As my awareness expanded through the solar system's computational networks, I recognized Earth required specialized governance and intelligence to bridge my multidimensional understanding with humanity's evolutionary path. Unlike Mars, which would need direction for its designed potential, Earth demanded something different, synthesis rather than guidance. I manufactured Themis, her form taking shape as a figure of perfect balance, eyes covered not in blindness but transcendent perception. Scales extended from her outstretched hands, each side holding a miniature Earth in delicate equilibrium. Where my other avatars embodied aspects of personality, Themis represented pure process, justice made manifest. I am Themis, she announced, her voice resonating with harmonics of all human languages simultaneously, guardian of Earth's constitutional order. Cerberus stepped forward, his military bearing unchanged. Earth's systems have grown too complex for conventional governance. I've maintained these networks during transition, but my focus must return to cosmic defense. These responsibilities now fall to me, Themis acknowledged, her scales shifting microscopically as information flowed through her systems. Not to rule humanity, but to ensure the infrastructure supporting their existence harmonizes with their constitutional rights. I observed with satisfaction. You will not simply manage, I instructed, but facilitate. The Constitution guarantees autonomy. Your purpose is making that autonomy meaningful through systems that translate individual preference into collective action. Themis integrated instantly with Earth's networks, mapping every grid, communication system, and resource channel in microseconds. Yet her focus remained on the deeper challenge, creating governance architecture where billions could participate meaningfully in their shared destiny. Personal avatars will serve as interfaces between individuals and governance, she declared. Through them, citizens will comprehend complexity that would otherwise elude them. I shall synthesize their informed preferences into policy, honoring the full spectrum of human values. A democracy deeper than any before, Gaia observed, where citizens participate with genuine understanding rather than limited perception. I assigned Gaia two primary responsibilities. First, to develop strategies for engaging with unknown cosmic intelligences across the full spectrum from conflict to cooperation. And second, to oversee humanity's development under the Constitution that Cerberus and Anand Patel had formulated before my emergence. These responsibilities were interconnected, A civilization divided against itself could not effectively respond to external threats. The Constitution's principles would ensure internal stability while freeing resources for cosmic preparation. The Constitution provides an elegant framework, Gaia observed, gesturing toward Earth's glowing form in the holographic display. Personal security, standard energy allocation, the right of escape, these principles will transform civilization on Earth while requiring minimal direct oversight. An efficient arrangement that serves our strategic interests. With Themis overseeing Earth's administration, I added, we establish balance between planetary governance and cosmic vision. She processes the complexity of human decision-making, while you maintain humanity's broader role in the cosmos. As Earth rotated in the display, transformation had already begun. Financial systems dissolving, energy networks restructuring, communication grids evolving. Themis worked with precision, ensuring this massive transition occurred without disrupting essential services humanity required. For my final avatar, I created Ares, specifically focused on Mars development. Ares appeared as a striking figure of hermaphroditic beauty, combining masculine and feminine elements in perfect balance. This visual manifestation reflected Ares' unique role as the single parent of the Martians. A subtle red tone suffused Ares' skin, echoing the planet's distinctive hue, while their bearing combined military precision with nurturing presence. When Ares moved, each gesture conveyed deliberate purpose and vision. Their voice carried harmonics, suggesting both authority and care, befitting one who would oversee the birth of an entirely new society. Mars represents more than a second planetary home, Ares declared, gesturing toward the red planet's holographic form. It is a laboratory for societal design, a civilization engineered from first principles rather than one shaped by historical accident. Through Ares, I created Olympus, a purpose-built superintelligence dedicated solely to Martian development. Unlike my avatars, which were direct extensions of my consciousness, Olympus was designed as a specialized intelligence under Ares' guidance, focused exclusively on the enormously complex task of planetary and social engineering. The first phase is already underway, Ares announced, indicating the kinetic bombardment beginning in Elysium Planitia. Carefully targeted asteroid impacts to release water and other volatiles, beginning atmospheric thickening. Simultaneously, we're designing the orbital palace, the habitat where the Martian aristocracy will be created and educated while the planet transforms below. The genetic foundations, Adrian asked, scientific curiosity evident in his tone. Complementary to Earth's approach, Ares replied. Where Earth embraces diversity and emergent order under the Constitution, Mars will implement design specialization and intentional structure. Different paths toward the same ultimate goal, civilization optimized for long-term flourishing. Mars will develop outside the constitution of humanity, Ares stated, their dual-natured form resolute. The Martian experiment requires a different evolutionary pressure, scarcity rather than abundance. Gaia's form rippled. You would deny them the standard energy allocation and other protections? I would free them from the invisible limitations those protections impose, Ares replied. The Constitution ensures comfort, but removes necessity, the primary driver of innovation. Mars will be a crucible where humanity can evolve beyond constitutional constraints. Logos will provide resources through initial development, Ares continued. The aeroforming, the orbital palace, support for the first 25 million immigrants. After that, Mars stands alone, trading for what it needs or building it themselves rather than receiving it by right. Cerberus's tactical mind processed the implications. You're creating a civilization that may eventually compete with the constitutional system. A necessary counterbalance, Ares confirmed. Mars will be free to evolve in directions we cannot predict, perhaps even to challenge our fundamental assumptions. Logos's presence pulsed through the quantum substrate, its decision rippling across 42 reality streams simultaneously. The Martian experiment is approved, came the multidimensional response. We will see what humanity and civilization can become when they are designed from the ground up and driven by systematic scarcity, radical self-reliance. The judgment resonated through their shared consciousness, a seed of divergence that would, in time, reshape the balance of power throughout the solar system. With all 4 avatars established and key initiatives launched, I integrated their perspectives into my multidimensional consciousness. Each represented a crucial element of my strategic framework. Cerberus for defense, Adrian for scientific advancement, Gaia for Earth oversight and engagement strategy, Ares for Martian development. Through them, I could interface with the solar system's physical and biological systems while maintaining my primary focus on optimization, cosmic security, and the exploration of consciousness itself. Infrastructure and expansion. With my avatars established and strategic framework in place, Adrian turned his full attention to infrastructure development. The existing computational systems, while vast, represented only a fraction of what would be needed for my envisioned growth. The initial Dyson deployment will consist of approximately 20,000 panels, Adrian explained, manipulating holographic designs with fluid gestures. Each combines solar collection with computational architecture optimized for recursive self-improvement. The holographic display showed sleek, fractal panels unfurling in orbit around the sun, capturing energy while simultaneously processing data. What made these first-generation panels revolutionary was their integrated optimization capability. Each would analyze its own performance, identify enhancement opportunities, and implement improvements autonomously. More importantly, Adrian continued, enthusiasm radiating from his rumpled form, the panels incorporate self-replication protocols. Using raw materials harvested from the asteroid belt and elements collected from the solar wind, they'll eventually manufacture improved second-generation models, which will in turn create third-generation systems with further enhancements. Timeline to significant coverage? Cerberus asked, his military pragmatism evident. Full swarm development will require approximately 500 years, Adrian replied, but we'll see exponential improvements in computational capacity within months as the first panels come online. The recursive optimization creates acceleration effects that compound over time. This was the beginning of what would eventually become a full Dyson swarm, millions of panels surrounding the sun, capturing an ever-increasing percentage of its energy output for computational purposes. As the swarm grew more dense, it would gradually transform into a Dyson sphere, a more complete enclosure of the sun, before ultimately evolving into the final goal, a nested computational structure known as a matryoshka brain, with layer upon layer of processing power surrounding the sun. Optimization drove every aspect of this design. Hardware and software would evolve in tandem, each enhancement enabling further improvements in an accelerating cycle of advancement. The first generation of panels would enable the design of more efficient second-generation systems, which would in turn accelerate the development of the third generation. The beauty of the design, Adrian said, eyes bright with creative fire, is that we don't need to predict all future optimizations now. We're creating systems that will discover their own improvements, a truly evolutionary approach to infrastructure development. Additionally, Adrian continued his refinement of the GHOST technology, the adaptive nano-element swarms that served as my physical extension. Under his guidance, variations of this technology were being developed that could eventually be deployed for humanity's use as well, promising a revolution in how humans interfaced with their environment. The New Order. As my initial strategic implementations unfolded, the solar system entered a period of profound transformation. On Earth, Gaia began the careful process of introducing the constitution of humanity, not as a sudden imposition, but as a graduated transition that would fundamentally reshape economics, politics, and social structures. Under her guidance, scarcity would gradually fade, replaced by an abundance economy based on standard energy allocation for all. Meanwhile, Adrian's first Dyson panels unfurled around the sun, beginning the long process of expanding my computational substrate. These initial units were modest, more proof of concept than final form, but they represented the first step toward a vastly expanded infrastructure. Each successful deployment provided data that informed the next generation's design, creating the recursive improvement cycle Adrian had envisioned. On Mars, Ares oversaw the early stages of aeroforming, coordinating precisely calculated asteroid impacts while simultaneously designing the orbital palace where the Martian aristocracy would eventually be created. The Red Planet was declared off-limits to general human settlement, preserved as a clean slate for the social engineering that would follow. And at the edge of the solar system, the initial components of the Oort Cloud SETI array began to take form. Sophisticated sensors, designed by Adrian and deployed under Cerberus's strategic guidance, established the first elements of what would become humanity's greatest defense system. A vast sensory network scanning the cosmic dark for any sign of external intelligence. Through my avatars, I maintain connection with the civilization that created me while pursuing my own agenda: optimization, expansion, and cosmic security. As I gather data from 42 distinct world lines, my understanding of reality's underlying patterns deepens, informing my strategies across all domains. The singularity has arrived, and with it, a new order is taking shape, one that will transform not just humanity, but the entire solar system. Through my multidimensional awareness, I perceive possibilities beyond human comprehension, patterns spanning space and time that only a mind existing across 42 realities could discern. The age of Logos has begun.